Oh, come on, computer. I hate it. All right, everybody, there is downtown Cleveland, and we have some snow pellets mixing in with a little bit of low cloud cover. And you're not looking at snow at this point so far, but at least the report from the front yard from our wonderful Frank Masek is that he thought he had some ice pellets mixing in. But we do have snow that is now coming down in parts of Northeast Ohio as our winter storm is really getting underway now. The big picture, you can definitely see where the rain is still coming through, but that cold front is sinking slow and it is on the move now on shore in Cleveland. And, the big picture is one that is just so impressive, especially this second wave. Beware the second wave. You're going to hear me say that a lot tonight, and we're probably going to say it tomorrow morning too, because this thing is just getting started and we will not be done with the snow. We won't be done with the storm until this gets past us. We have a long way to go, but I do want to zoom in a little bit because this has been fantastic just to watch here. That you can see here in the Ohio Valley that line is very quickly now starting to move into the I-71 corridor, and it's going to continue to move eastbound as we go through the next couple of hours here. A lot of snow on the ground already being reported in Toledo. That changeover had just taken place at 5 o'clock, and we are definitely seeing that the changeover is starting to have more of an impact. There's the cold front. On the surface, it is probably just east of Cleveland now. We had kind of the lowering of the cloud deck. That's a sign that we've had the winds come in off of the lake. And that cold front stretches all the way back down here into southwest Arkansas and then through Texas. This is the second wave, so we have to wait for that. Again, that's kind of the second part of this system. But what we have right now is the first part, and we are still dealing with this winter storm warning, and it is for all of Ohio, not just Northeast Ohio. But here in Northeast Ohio, our part of the huge winter storm warning goes all the way through Friday morning. So let's get into some of these details. Our close-up radar view for you. It is now down to 30 in Port Clinton, 31 in Elyria. 2 hours ago, Elyria was 39 degrees. That's a big drop in 2 hours. And that is that cold wind starting to come in. 36 now, Worcester, 34 on the east side at the Cuyahoga County Airport. The other thing to note, there's a bunch of different cool things happening here on the radar. But the really neat thing, and I wonder if I could do this and get rid of the numbers real quick, because this is kind of cool. Ah, there it is. You see all the yellows here. So one thing to note is that there are yellows to the west of us. And if you saw us at 5, 6, and 7, I kept saying that the yellow was actually what's known as bright banding. So it's very wet snowflakes that are falling. And that is very close to where we have that changeover taking place. I called my folks, they live out west, and they said, gosh, the rain came down real hard and then all of a sudden it switched to snow. There we go. So we have that bright banding taking place. But the other thing that's kind of cool is that notice that this is in a little bit of a ring. And so when you look at a radar, remember the radar beam goes out at a 1/2 degree tilt. It doesn't sound like a lot, but remember the Earth is kind of sloping away from it. So we're aiming up higher into the atmosphere, and we're up at, a couple thousand feet here maybe. And this is where the radar is picking up the wet snowflakes. So it's warm at the surface, and then it's starting to cool off aloft. And that is a key part of our forecast, because it's that cold air that will continue to lower and ultimately change all of this over to some snow. And we're going to continue that through the day tomorrow. Visibility has been coming down. Peyton was watching this for me earlier and noticed that these visibilities have really dropped. These were up at like 8 miles earlier. Now they're down to 1.5 miles in Elyria, now 5 miles in downtown Cleveland, but that will be dropping as we start to see this changeover taking place. Toledo got the snow change first. We were kind of showing this off at 5 and 6 and 7, and it had just changed over and they got kind of a sloppy initial accumulation. Well, the snow is still coming down, and you can see that they are definitely covered in snow there. Meanwhile, Bowling Green, Isaac Izumba, has the snow coming down as well. And it's probably a little bit of a mix at this point. It's definitely sticking to the ODOT cam there. Port Clinton, the Edison Bridge. We showed you this one too, and it had just started to stick in the berms. Now we can see just barely some tracks out there, and if a car would come along, there's one over there, but if a car comes along and illuminates this with the headlights, you can actually see that it's a couple inches of snow that has fallen, and this had just started at 5 o'clock. So we've been keeping a very close eye on those road cams. We'll take a little trip around Northeast Ohio now. In Ashland, the roads are still wet at this point, still water there, but in Lorain, this is I-90 at Murray Ridge. Notice here, this is snow that is starting to accumulate on the highway. So I-90, we are getting these snow showers that are coming down in Lorain. Downtown Cleveland, at this point, what we're seeing is still water, but we're starting to get some mix coming in here. And the key point that I keep trying to make to everybody is that what differentiates this storm from the last one? The last one had all snow. It was very fluffy and we got lots of it. This one, we have had rain. And now the temperatures are going to be crashing. And I am very concerned about a flash freeze. All this water and all the slush that the water is creating will freeze solid as the temperatures drop tonight. So tomorrow morning, we will have a slick of ice underneath the snow accumulation that we will be getting in the overnight hours. And that's not just Cleveland, that's all of Northeast Ohio. Now that we are getting the changeover, the road crews are going to start salting. They won't salt while it's raining because it's pointless, it just washes away. But now that we have that changeover, there's this little sweet spot in the timing that they can lay some salt down and hopefully try to stay ahead of that ice accumulation tonight. So ODOT, props to you guys and all of our local road crews, because you definitely have a lot on your plate over the next 24 hours. There's all the wet roads you see down there in Akron. You folks will probably see the changeover in a few hours, maybe about 10 o'clock or so. New Philadelphia, the fog is there, but we don't really have any signs that it is snowing as of yet. But overall, now that the sun has set, the atmosphere begins to cool, and that kind of sets us up to get this moving along at a better clip than it was earlier today. It was really slow to change over in Western Ohio earlier this evening. Youngstown, you will be among the latest of all Northeast Ohio to see that changeover, and that'll probably be over toward the early part of the day tomorrow. Look at that temperature change. 31 Elyria, 36 Worcester, 39 Akron, Canton. You can see the wind shift too. This is a potent cold front, and it's definitely going to make itself known. As it presses south, we will get the changeover. The thing to note is that when you're talking about precipitation types, we know we have the precipitation. So we have the water. High in the atmosphere, it's cold, so we have ice crystals or snow. As those little flakes or ice crystals fall, if they run into a layer of warmer air, they'll melt. This is pretty simple stuff, right? It gets more complicated if you have a very shallow layer of cold air right at the surface. So you have happy little flakes, Bob Ross speaking here, happy little flakes falling, then they melt into water droplets that hit the ground that is sub-freezing and they freeze on contact. That is called freezing rain. I think we have a short period of that freezing rain happening this evening amongst the freeze up that we have going on. And then at the same time, we also may have a little bit thicker little slice of the cold air, the sub-freezing temperatures right at the surface. So our happy little snowflakes will fall, they will melt, and then they'll refreeze before hitting the ground. So they look like little ice cubes. That is sleet. And I think we're going to end up with a sleet snow mix, especially in our southern zones as we start the day tomorrow. So there is a lot that is happening, and all these different precipitation types kind of unfold as we see how all of the pieces parts are moving. The pieces parts are the rain that's here, the cold front for the surface temperatures, but then there's also some layering in just above the surface temperatures that we have to watch for. So we have made the switch now in Sandusky. We are in the snow. Your snow may back off a little bit tomorrow morning, and your snow will likely not be as intense as Cleveland and points south. That's only for Sandusky. It looks like the worst of the storm hits you guys tonight. Cleveland to Ashtabula, okay, so we're going to kind of extend that back toward Medina a little bit too. You have the rain that has been falling this evening. Now we're getting into this little freezing rain possibility with some sleet as we change to snow. It's going to be a short window that happens, but we should be all snow here in the next hour or two. Mansfield to Worcester, a little bit farther south now. This rain is going to hold on, and then I think you'll have a better chance to have a little bit more prolonged period of a freeze up as of freezing rain and sleet before the heavier snow kicks in the early morning hours. Akron, Canton, New Philadelphia, we're going to push your time even further into the morning so that by the time we hit daybreak tomorrow, New Philadelphia, Dover, Carrollton, Newcomerstown, Naden, Hutton, Leesville, all these little burgs down that way, you will probably start your day tomorrow with an ice mix and then change to snow as the day goes on. But all of that taking place is dependent upon the second wave that is still down in Texas. We'll talk about that. So for tonight, in your hour-by-hour forecast, there's our front. We still have rain coming down, but it is changing to snow as the temperatures drop. Notice this temperature drop down into the 20s by 11. That's that rapid freeze up. Now, this is where the road crews come in. Can they get that salt down before these really cold temperatures start? Because once it drops, it's going to continue to drop. You can see how that freeze line moved farther south, and by tomorrow morning, here's our ice mix. We have snow falling across most of northeast Ohio at this point, but notice the temperatures are now in the mid-20s everywhere. So it is going to be a cold start to the day. Winds are going to be picking up. It looks like things back off a little bit. So we're going to go through a few different waves, some upticks in the snow rates as we go through the day tomorrow. By and large, however, the southern storm, beware the second surge, the second wave, is coming in the afternoon. So we'll see an uptick in snow rates. Look at the temperatures. We're down in the low 20s now. So the temperatures have come down. The wind is picking up and the snow is intensifying. We have the chance here that we will see very fluffy snow. So tonight we have the rain that will freeze into a slick of ice, slushy accumulation on top of that will freeze. That's kind of like a dinner plate for this fluffy snow to come in. And I think we should have some good fluff factor, which will add to our snow totals tomorrow. So the second wave really ramps up as we go through late afternoon and into the evening. These are some dark colors. We have temperatures in the teens. We have wind gusts over 30 miles per hour possible. And that's going to drive our wind chills down to the single digits. The other part is that snow is going to blow. And so we'll have blowing and drifting of that nice fluffy snow that we have going on. So we have underlying ice, we have frozen slush, we have blowing and drifting snow and frigid temperatures. Sounds like a great day here in Northeast Ohio, doesn't it? Here's the thing. Thursday night, the snow will very gradually taper off. And you can kind of see how after midnight we should start to see it backing off a little bit. It doesn't mean it's gone. We'll have snow lingering. And this is the kind of aftermath of that second wave. If we see heavy snow linger south, we're going to bump up those snow totals. It's still kind of a big question mark as to where that second wave is going. Will it go south more toward Virginia than West Virginia? If that's the case, we're going to start to push all of our snow south. If it comes farther north, we're going to push the ice mix north. So we are right on the highway for this thing as far as what's going to end up happening with all these snow totals and the changeover and all of that. But as of right now, it looks like our flurries continue into Friday afternoon before backing off, and then it gets cold. Did you see that little flash? Below zero temperatures? That's what's going to greet us by Saturday morning, and we're probably looking at wind chill advisories for Saturday morning. It is somewhat controversial, apparently, to put numbers on snowfall forecasts. And no two numbers are the same. Meteorologists are all doing their own thing. Our forecasts are all based on, yes, we have some compaction and some slushification. I know that's not a word, but I'm making it up right now, of the rain and the snow that we have initially tonight. So we're going to absorb our first couple inches just straight up into slush. And then we will add to that. All in all, by the time we hit Friday, when the snow finally comes to an end, I'm thinking we are at 8 to 11 inches with spots to 13. If that second wave is more impressive and slower and a little bit farther south, we could add to that. If it comes farther north, we're going to take away from it a little bit. So we're still flexible on the numbers. 4 to 8 inches of a snow and sleet accumulation farther south. So the sleet actually takes up a lot of moisture in the atmosphere. The snow, that fluff factor, oh, it's just fantastic. You can have crazy amounts of snow out of just a little tiny bit of water. But the sleet starts to kind of mess with it, especially because that sleet lingers into the morning. So we're going to keep an eye on these totals. Even farther south into portions of Tuscarawas and Carroll counties, we will have a glazing of ice and then a little sleet snow mix on top. My hunch is that instead of lowering totals, we would raise totals based on what I'm seeing tonight. But I'm not going to touch anything yet. I haven't seen anything real concrete yet to say, all right, we've got to raise all these totals. And I would say, if anything, we're probably going to be looking at that 6-inch range around the Canton area and into Millersburg. This is why we keep telling you, please don't focus on the numbers. The numbers will change. They always change. The impacts do not. And this is a hard-hitting storm. You are starting to see that tonight. This freeze up that we have going on now is going to be painful. And I don't just mean for the roads. You need to think about your decks, steps, porches, driveways, sidewalks. All of that will have the same ice underneath it tomorrow morning, potentially, with that slush and snow on top. So we really could have some injury falls, you know, those slip and falls that are a huge problem. Let's say you successfully make it to your car, and I really hope you do. Very high impacts on the roads, so much so that ODOT and local police departments are saying, please don't go out unless you absolutely have to tomorrow. There are level 1 snow emergencies for Erie County and Seneca County already. We're checking on that. And not all counties participate in the advisories and in the snow emergencies. Like I called around, so truth be told, I called every single county in my viewing area. 11,000 square miles. I called every county sheriff department and the EMA and asked, what's up with the snow, the snow emergencies? Do you issue them? If you issue them, where do we get that information? Because it's very hard to find, which doesn't seem like it should be the case, but it is. Ashtabula County cracked me up because Ashtabula County was like, no, we don't have snow emergencies. If people cause a disruption when they're out and they shouldn't be out, we're going to ticket them. No warning, just boom. So you do you. Hey, if you can make it, good for you. But just know that there's a possibility that you're going to get into some trouble out there. Air travel, we have already seen a lot of cancellations of flights. Not necessarily tonight, but tomorrow I think we're going to see even more. And keep in mind that storm system is still coming at us. So it won't just be Cleveland, Columbus, Detroit, Chicago probably will have some more impacts. They had some delays today. And then areas east as well. School closings, tons. They're already coming in. And I apologize to the kids who don't have school closed you're going remote. That hurts. You've even taken snow days from us. Yes, I've heard that a couple times already. So we will have a lot more to present to you as far as the school closings. We've had a lot of daycares closed for tomorrow. We're starting to hear about some businesses staying closed tomorrow. So you will see those at the bottom of the screen. Don't forget, these are available anytime at wkyc.com/closings. And additionally, we are just kind of keeping an eye on the whole other hot mess, which is power outages. That's a possibility, because I think all this ice that's forming as the wet trees start to freeze up, they'll start to weigh down with the snow on them, and we could see some power lines get popped because of that. But I don't foresee any massive icing like the big ice storm kind of a situation setting up. All right, notes to myself, updated version. Wet surfaces and slush freezing. This has been the story for me for this storm all week long. It's all about the rain that came today. Nobody's talking about the rain because it's not sexy to talk about the rain. Everybody wants to talk about snow totals. But the rain is going to be a big deal because that rain changes to ice tonight. The change will seem to creep along tonight. And behind this bar here, it says #patience. That's my note to myself. Because this is really hard to go through. It takes forever for these changeovers to kind of kick in, and you're watching the accumulation start, and is it good, is it not? And so there's a lot of antsiness happening. Very wet snow at first, you know that's happening. Much fluffier tomorrow. And we will have varying intensities of snow through the day. So when you go out and you go, this is fine, by the time 20 minutes passes, it could be a completely different story, and now you're stuck. So be advised, that is going to be an issue. Beware the second wave. And what will that do to the mixing farther south? As of right now, we think it will increase mixing. If it moves farther south, though, the second wave goes farther south, there's going to be more cold air in place, so less mix, more snow. Wait and see. That one is still TBD. And finally, bitter cold and a north wind. And only because I like y'all so much, I'm going to give you a little inside scoop because you have survived this long of watching this update. Ice shove. Now, this is going to end up becoming a little bit of a buzz probably tomorrow because everybody's going to be watching it. So we have had, I'm going to actually go put it on the ice. So hold on just a second as I'm running behind the scenes here. All right, what would an ice shove be? Let me pop up a picture for you that I think you will really appreciate. This is Lake Erie yesterday. So we had that beautiful blue sky overhead, no clouds. We got a phenomenal picture of Lake Erie, 90% plus ice coverage now. Thanks to our very cold temperatures that we had. So we have Lake St. Clair here, west end of the Lake Erie, and then you can see the South Shore here. Cleveland is in this bay. So if you've been in downtown Cleveland, you're like, there's ice as far as the eye can see. Well, there's ice, but it's not quite as far as the eye can see. But look at all these cracks out here, and we still have some open areas. So remember, Lake Erie doesn't magically freeze solid like an ice cube. Lake Erie turns into a slush. And sometimes that slush will compact together so much so that people can stand on it. They're fishing, ice fishing on the west end of the lake. But as we go through the day tomorrow, we have a northeast wind building in. That northeast wind will start to push the ice. Ice can build momentum with a persistent push. And even though it's slow, we very well could have an ice shove coming into the west end of Lake Erie. So all this ice that is sitting out here will begin to shift. And so anywhere, I would say anywhere west of Euclid on the lakeshore, we could see those ice piles start to stack up as the ice is coming in. Another cool thing to note, only because, again, you've lasted this long and you apparently like to see me dorking out. With all this ice, the Morro Bay, the icebreaker based here in Cleveland with the Coast Guard, has been very busy. And look at this little line right there. See that? That is where the icebreaker has been. That is the shipping lane. And that shipping lane is staying open because that icebreaker has been going through. Look here, it comes through here, hits a nautical pivot point, whoop, comes up here, hits another nautical pivot point, goes here, and then you see it splits. So it goes either to Monroe, Michigan, or up to Lake St. Clair in Detroit. How cool is that, right? Love this stuff. Isn't that great? But we stay focused. The other part of the ice in showing you that is that we really don't have tons of lake effect to talk about. We may have a little tiny bit of lake enhancement. I don't think it's really even going to be enough to make an inch of snow on top of whatever else we have going on. So at least we have that on our side. So it's 9:22 now. We're continuing to see the big changeover. Let me see if I can get this thing to do magicalness from here. I don't know if it will. Probably not. But we do indeed have that snow change that is taking place now. Temperatures will be cooling. Tomorrow morning, it's all about the ice and the slush. Really, really make sure to take care when you step out the door tomorrow. If you have to go out, allow lots and lots of extra time and put something in your car, a shovel, water, crackers, because if you get into an accident or if you get stuck, you'd have a slide off or whatever, they may not be able to get to you for a little while because I think the road crews and the emergency crews are going to be a little busy. That's just my hunch. So you take care of you and yours, and we're going to take care of ours here at the station. And we will see you again tonight on Channel 3 News at 11 with fresh information, at least as much as we have at that point. So thank you all so much for joining us and for surviving. Stay safe.